A couple of days ago, my husband and I were getting ready to go to the grocery store, so Brian was looking in the fridge to see what we needed. And he said, "Patricia, I noticed that you haven't been eating the kale that I bought you to put in your morning smoothies." Kind of sheepishly, I said, I know I've been eating donuts instead." Without skipping a beat, he said, "Oh yeah, it's Holy Week." Get it? Yeah. You know, you just can't buy that kind of humor, can you? I spent the first 20 years of our marriage groaning at the humor, and now I actually appreciate it. I'm glad you do too. So you know, we had to cancel services last week due to the weather. The first time I think we've ever canceled Sunday services. But I don't want you to worry, because I'm going to take my Palm Sunday lesson and my Easter lesson and give them both to you today. We'll be out in, no less than 2 hours. Yeah, we're good? You guys are laughing. You're amazing. You're amazing. All right. So what was that Easter Sunday morning like over 2,000 years ago? They had placed Jesus' body in a tomb on Friday night because the Sabbath was coming and they were not allowed to do any work. Jewish law prohibited that, so they could not fully anoint and prepare his body for burial. So they placed it in the tomb Friday night and placed a huge stone in front of it. Now you have to understand that a tomb was really a cave. So there was a stone placed in front of the cave where Jesus' body was. And they posted guards in front of it because, well, they didn't want anything miraculous to happen. Jesus had planted all these seeds that something miraculous might happen. So they wanted guards there to be sure that nothing happened. So on Easter Sunday morning, the women came to complete the burial preparations, to anoint his body. And the stories in each of the 4 Gospels are just a little bit different. Everyone has a little detail that's slightly different from the others. But in all of them, it was the women who approached the tomb. And the version that is most dramatic is the one in Matthew. Because in Matthew, there is a huge earthquake that happens. And that moves the stone. And then an angel of the Lord comes down and sits upon this stone. So this stone is really massive. The women had been worried about how they were going to move the stone from the tomb. But in Matthew, they didn't have to because an earthquake moved it for them. In fact, in all 3 of the Gospels, somehow the stone is moved away. In most of them, the women just arrive and it has been moved. The version that I like the best is the one in John. In John, Mary Magdalene comes by herself. She approaches the tomb and sees that the stone is gone. And then she looks inside and sees that Jesus' body is gone. And all that remains are the wrappings that had been on his body. She immediately leaves and goes to tell the disciples, and she encounters John and Peter, who rush right back to the tomb. And when John gets there, John just stops at the doorway and looks inside. But then Peter, remember, Peter represents faith. Peter comes in and goes straight inside and walks around in the tomb and looks and sees that the casings that had been on Jesus' body, the wrappings that had been on his body, you could even see the impression of his face. And then the 2 of them left and went home. But Mary did not. Mary stood and stayed crying. We're told that she wept. And then as she looked inside, she noticed there were 2 angels in there. And when she turned around, she saw another figure. And this man beside her was Jesus, but she didn't recognize him. She thought maybe he was a gardener. And so she asked him, where have you taken my Lord's body? And then this gardener speaks to her and says, Mary. And in that moment, she knew it was Jesus. She knew Jesus' voice. And so she reached out. She wanted to hug him and embrace him. And he said, no, I've not yet ascended. Do not hold on to me. I've not yet ascended. I love that version of the story because it speaks about that voice of the Christ that is in you and in me. You see, this is our story. I know sometimes the stories in the Bible seem so old that perhaps they're not even meaningful to us today, but that is so not true. This is our story. And that voice of the Christ that called out to Mary is calling out to you and me. It calls out Mary. It calls out Bill, Susan. It's calling out to us, that voice of the risen Christ. You see, she and the disciples thought that Jesus was gone when they found the empty tomb. What they didn't realize was that he was not gone, but his energy could no longer be contained in human form. His energy could no longer be contained in human form, and it was vaster and broader than that in you and in me and all of us. It's our story. And as that voice of the Christ calls to us, sometimes though we are still stuck in this tomb with a great big stone in the way. We're trapped by this stone. Now, I don't know what your stone might be, the stone that keeps you from hearing the voice of the Christ, but my guess is you have one. And the Easter message is that it's ours to roll away the stone, or to let the Christ in us roll away the stone so that we can remember the Christ in us, right? That's what the Easter message is all about. So the stone here, it represents your fears, your limited beliefs, the part of you that says that's not possible, it never could be, I've always failed before, I'll fail again, all of that. I talked to a young woman recently, 30-year-old woman, and I know this woman to be so strong, to have done major, bold things in her life. But here's the thing, she's got a couple of very clear dreams, and yet she's never fully lived those dreams. She's working in jobs that are tangential to her main dream, related in the fields, but not right in it. And so we were talking about it, and she said, I'm just afraid. I'm so afraid I'll fail. And I said to her, so what if you do fail? But she can't get past this fear, right? But she's wrestling with it. There's this great big boulder here, and she thinks she can't push it away. And so she had conversation with her boss. She's currently working a contract job that has an end soon, and she's in charge of their communications function. And she does an excellent job at it. She's very good. And her boss had told her that he has in mind for her, when this temporary contract ends, a permanent full-time job. They were having conversation about it, and something in her led her to tell him the truth, to tell him about her real dreams. And God bless this man. He looked at her and he said, then you get out now. You leave now and you go live your dreams. He said, because there'll always be another communications job. But now's the time for you to live your dreams. Before you've got, before you have a family, before you have other things that tie you down, you're free now. Go do it, he said to her. Now, gosh, thank you, God, for bosses like that, right? But she's still afraid. That's her stone that she's got to find a way to release. So my guess is that you've got one too. But here's the thing. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, you must do the thing you think you cannot do. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. She said, you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. Now, every one of us here has a thing. I don't know what your thing is. I don't know if it's a dream like that young woman's dream. Or I don't know if it's an action step that you know it's time to take. Or I don't know if it's some other way of stepping out boldly into the world to be the Christ in some way. I don't know what your thing is, but I'll bet you have one. When I say you must do the thing you think you cannot do, what comes to your mind? And then you ask yourself, well, what's in the way of that? What's in the way of that? That's the stone. That's the boulder. That's the part that says, no, I'll fail. I can't do it. It's too big. I failed before. Whatever that is, that's the stone that we want to push away. And let me tell you, there's never a better time than Easter Sunday to make a decision to push that stone away. Because it's not just us in this room, but there's a collective consciousness all over the world today. Acknowledging the presence of the divine, acknowledging the presence of the Christ. So I want to tell you about an Easter miracle that happened. Another true story. A friend of mine was in a marriage that was failing. We could all see it. And finally, she decided that she was going to ask for a divorce. She went to a lawyer, had the papers drawn up, determined how it was that she was going to leave and move out on her own. And that's the last I knew of it, and I knew it was going to take great courage for her to take that step. They'd forgotten how to communicate with each other. You know, the marriage had become so stale that they were just two separate lives. So that's the last I heard of it. And then on Friday, I read this Facebook post. Let me read it to you today. She writes, miracles are real. If you doubt it, meet Mike and me. 36 years of marriage, and things had become stale and needed an infusion. I was ready to declare it completed. But alas, I got a new man. The marriage is revived. He's become amazingly helpful and thoughtful, interested and interesting, a friend and partner, and on it goes. We are both renewed and more in love than ever. The Easter miracles never seem to stop, and I am humbled and a happy woman. I'll bet there are some of you in the room today in some stage of that particular Easter miracle. Perhaps you've lost hope. Maybe the thing for you to do is to take the step forward, and have a conversation. I don't know. I would not be mine to say. But what I know is that whatever that thing is that you need to do, that there is a voice in you. And that voice is the Christ. And that voice is calling out to you, Mary. And that strength, that presence of the Christ will guide you to take the step that you are to take into the miracle that is to happen for you. Sometimes we think we're not ready. We've got to read another book on it. We've got to go to another class on it. But sometimes we just have to let go. We just have to let go and do the thing. I want to share with you a poem. It's entitled, She Let Go, by Reverend Sapphire Rose. She let go. Without a thought or a word, she let go. She let go of the fear. She let go of the judgments. She let go of the confluence of opinions swarming around her head. She let go of the committee of indecision within her. She let go of all the right reasons, wholly and completely without hesitation or worry. She let go. She didn't ask anyone for advice. She didn't read a book on how to let go. She didn't search the scriptures. She just let go. She let go of all the memories that held her back. She let go of all the anxiety that kept her from moving forward. She let go of the planning and all of the calculations about how to do it just right. She didn't promise to let go. She didn't journal about it. She didn't write the projected date on her day timer. She made no public announcement and put no ad in the paper. She didn't check the weather report or read her daily horoscope. She just let go. Sometimes we think we've got to push the boulder out of the way, and then we realize that that boulder is often of our own making, that maybe, just maybe, it started out as a pebble, but it grew in our mind's eye, right? It grew, like a stone rolling down a hill that picks up more dirt and stuff until it grows and grows and grows and seems too big for us ever to move. But sometimes the invitation is just to let go into it, to just surrender and trust that that voice within, that presence of the Christ, will just move it out of the way. This is the day to move the stone out of the way and let go. And I have one more true story that I would like to show to you today.
Hi, what's your name, darling?
My name is Susan Boyle.
Okay, Susan, where are you from?
I am from Blackburn near Bathgate, West Lothian.
It's a big town.
It's a sort of collection of, villages. I had to think there.
And how old are you, Susan?
I am 47. And that's just one side of me.
Okay, what's the dream?
I'm trying to be a professional singer.
And why hasn't it worked out so far, Susan?
I've never been given the chance before, but here's hoping it'll change.
Okay, and who would you like to be as successful as?
Elaine Page.
Elaine
Like
Page.
that.
What are you going to sing tonight?
I'm going to sing I Dreamed a Dream from the Miserables.
Okay. Big song.
Yeah? Yes.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
You didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
I dreamed of love and never
All right. Thank you very much, Susan. Piers.
Without a doubt, that was the biggest surprise I have had in 3 years on this show. When you stood there with that cheeky grin and said, I want to be like Elaine Page, everyone was laughing at you. No one is laughing now. That was stunning. An incredible performance. Amazing. I'm reeling from shock about you two, but
I am
can't
so
believe it.
thrilled because I know that everybody was against you. I honestly think that we were all being very cynical, and I think that's the biggest wake-up call ever. And I just want to say that it was a complete privilege listening to that. It was brilliant.
Susan, I knew the minute you walked out on that stage that we were going to hear something extraordinary, and I was right.
Not a lot of touch.
Susan, you are a little tiger, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know about that.
You
I don't know about
are.
that.
Okay, moment of truth. Here's yes or no.
The biggest yes I have ever given anybody.
Amanda?
Yes, definitely. It's brilliant.
Susan Boyle, you can go back to the village with your head held high. It's 3 yeses.
What is your dream today? Because you know the truth, that nothing can kill your dream. That is the message of the Easter resurrection. Nothing can kill your dream. No matter if they laugh at you, no matter if everybody is against you, no matter if you've tried before and failed, no matter where you've been or what you've done. Because here's the thing, you know something that others may have forgotten, and that's that the Christ in you, the Christ light in you is greater than any obstacle. So you go out there and you be extraordinary. You go out there and you live your dream and you be amazing. That's the Easter message. You go out there and push away that stone. And as you do, you let your Christ light shine. Happy Easter.